So I have one question for you before
lay it on me, dude.
Have you thought about crying today?
This is On Air with... Oh, geez. I mean, this is Almost On Air with Erica and Jon.
Just like that guy said, this is Almost On Air. I'm Erica. That's Jon.
That guy.
And you
wow.
didn't answer my question.
That
guy, our dude Miles. I know, but
yeah,
if you're listening, it's that guy.
He's the intro guy. Yeah, no one really knows. It's like the guy who does the voiceovers for all like the game shows and stuff. Like you never really know that guy. He's just that guy.
He's just that guy. Miles, you are more than... Miles doesn't listen to this podcast. It's okay.
I don't know. He might.
I was going to say, Miles, you are more than that guy to us.
Yeah, you're the guy. Not that guy. You are the guy. What was your question?
That's right. My question was if you've thought about crying today.
So today specifically, no. I thought on napping
in the
many
last
times.
week or month. You're not really a cry guy.
I'm not a cry guy. Wow. I'm not really a cry guy. No. No's the short answer to that.
Simply no. All right. Well, that's cool for you, but we
Erica,
might get there.
Just curious.
Have
you thought about crying today?
I shed a tear earlier.
Nice.
Only one though. Not like a full cry, but kind of like I could cry right now if I wanted to let it rip, but I'm not gonna.
It was like you got your rope on the cry and you like got them reeled in a little bit.
That's right.
What's it called when you like that rope that's on the horses?
Lasso.
There it is.
When you lasso them?
That was probably the least understandable analogy I've made up in a while. Can't really put a lasso on a tear, but
see a spider.
Should I get a plant?
Are we a mess? Because I just said I saw a spider. You asked if you should get a plant. This has nothing to do with that spider's going to stress me out. Oh, well.
No, I'm dead serious about my plant question, though. I feel like...
Yeah, a plant behind you would be nice.
Yeah, I feel like it would... I feel like my studio is looking a little incomplete.
Okay.
Is probably the word I'm looking for. I have this very nice red cup that I feel like stands out and brings some attention to it. Mm-hmm. My mom got me this, like, light up J. So sorority. It's like a light up.
For a second, I thought it was an L.
No, it's a J.
Right.
Which stands for Jon. What's up? But it's very sorority. It's like one of those like wood letters with like the bulb lights on it that go all the way down.
But with this wood paneling you have behind you,
could
shout
make
out to
sense.
those of you watching on YouTube, it does look great.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Is this at all too feminine?
Not with the vibes you have going on.
Okay, I'll take that.
In fact, I think it adds versus detracts from your sleepability.
Okay, I like that. Do you have a plant in your home at this moment?
This is not my home because I'm living with my parents right now.
Right.
So yes, there are plants in... Oh my God, there may not be plants in this. No, there's plants in this house. There's plants in this house. I had a fake plant in my old bedroom because I can't be trusted to keep a plant alive.
Okay, when I say plant, I really mean succulent.
Okay, Jon, those are very, like, yes, a succulent is a plant, but you can't just be like, oh, a plant means a succulent, duh.
But to me, it does, because I'm not going to take care of a plant. But I feel like, and I don't know if this is the reason all girls have plants in their place, but I feel like it would, A, liven up my little background here, and it would make it look a little bit more, just alive is the right word that I'm looking for. And two, somehow knowing that a plant is alive makes me feel like I'm not alone in my room sometimes. Like I have a little friend, but like I'm not going to get a cat because I don't want to take care of it. We have a cat, but it's not in my room usually. And like I don't want to mess with the dog and just choose my things. So,
you know, last week we talked about how you were like, I'm not ready. Like we were talking about how a pet is the gateway to a kid.
Right.
I think a plant is the gateway to a pet.
Okay, I'm ready for that, I think.
So I think, oh my God,
whoa.
you're growing up.
Look at this. I think I'm at the stage in my life where I'm down to take on the plant commitment. Succulent.
I think you should do it.
Okay.
Yeah, succulent. It's actually, I think the steps are succulent, nothing, succulent, very living plant that you could kill.
Okay.
Pet, child.
Wow. So child is phase 4 or level 4.
5. Because I would say you're at level 1 right now, which is nothing.
Oh, you gave that a level? Nice. Okay.
I mean, you're keeping yourself alive. That's a level.
Actually, that's such a good point, which I deserve a lot of credit for, to be honest, because it is a very tough and very challenging task at times.
If I was in charge of keeping you alive, it probably wouldn't happen.
I got to feed this body multiple times a day. You know how tough that is, dude? I hate cooking. I can't. Like, no.
I get it. even like, I mean, my mom is cooking, like, full fairness, my mom's cooking like 85% of my meals right now.
Wow.
And
Dude.
even then, sometimes I'm like, I just don't have time to even like sit down and do the family dinner thing. So I'm just going to do my own thing. And that's probably takeout.
Do you still get to eat your mom's home-cooked meals if you don't eat with your family?
She often will save them, but sometimes I don't eat them.
Wow. I need that in my life. But also...
It's really nice.
Yeah, like that's the one thing I need. If I were rich, I would for sure buy a private chef. That's like the first thing I'd do.
You don't like buy a private chef. You like employ one.
That's true. Slavery's not a thing.
Yeah. Right. It's not. But that's okay.
Okay, I'm gonna get a succulent sometime in the next few weeks, and we'll add it to my addition. And do you name succulents? Is that a thing?
John, you can do whatever.
I'm gonna
Are you the
name
kind of guy who names their car?
I usually am, but I have not named my current car.
My car's name is Stella.
Wait, my sister's car's name was Stella. I feel like a lot of girls name their car Stella.
I named mine Stella after the beer.
I don't think that's why my sister named her car Stella.
Probably not.
Maybe.
Back
Who
in
knows?
college, that was my favorite beer, and that's when I got the car. So
I feel like at some point, Stella has been everyone's favorite beer, you know?
It's like the gateway beer. I can't get into this whole gateway thing.
Everything's a gateway to you today?
Yeah.
Your one tier is a gateway into this
hell.
entire episode?
What'd you say?
I said your one tier was a gateway into this entire emotional episode.
Honestly, what caused that tier is a gateway into this entire episode.
Do you want to tell us what caused your tier?
I was just thinking about being alone. Also, guys, just a fair warning. John and I are recording this at 5 p.m. and we are both drinking coffee, which means we are both kind of a mess today.
A, yes, and B, this is our first episode in a couple weeks completely sober, which is a gateway to growing up.
Right. Okay. I'm gonna exit my room now.
Yeah.
Why'd you play the no good sound?
I don't know. I had the correct and the no good sound, and the correct probably makes more sense, but it wasn't as funny.
Correct and no good versus correct and incorrect.
It's also technically wrong buzzer.
Yeah.
Like otherwise, you could have said I cried because I thought about being alone. That just seems
right. I guess either way.
like at least wrong is like it has a negative connotation and it's kind of depressing, you know?
Sure. Maybe you should have played the air horn.
Yeah, that was what I was looking for, the air horn. See, the air horn, here's some behind the scenes info. The air horn is in a complete separate app. So every time I want the air horn, I got to exit out of my soundboard and then go to the air horn. It's like I kind of have to know.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I'm behind the scenes of this operation.
It's literally called Rap Horn. It's free at the Apple Store.
Very cool.
There you
go. You right as we were starting, you said, "Oh, I'm going to add two things to the rundown."
Oh, pretty much just one. And I
just
like
the plant.
Well, I mean, the plant was just a spur of the moment thing, which I am very dedicated now that we've talked about it. I'm very excited about our plant. However, my situation that I really need your help with is I think I'm going into a really dark hole and I'm starting to get some addictive tendencies and I really need to pull myself out before it gets real bad.
I feel like you're not talking about alcohol or drugs.
No.
Is it shopping? Because that's where I'm at.
Oh, I wish it were shopping. No. I'd just go broke and then I'd have to move out.
Is it pizza?
Nope, not pizza. You can't be addicted in a negative connotation to pizza. I cannot stop going on TikTok. I can't.
Oh, I've noticed.
It's
because
so
John
bad.
never used to send me TikToks before, and now I get at least 2 a day.
And I used to be like, when quarantine first started, I was like, oh, TikTok's cool. And I was like trying to get on it. But I would dabble on TikTok. And then I got rid of it for a while. And I never went on it. And I'd use Instagram Reels for a while. But the past, I think it's because when I went on TikTok, I never spent enough time on it for the algorithm to understand me and really know the videos that I want. And then I thought about it. It was like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was like, I want to see funny videos because my roommates are getting funny videos and I'm not. Like, I'm getting these stupid videos and TikTok doesn't know me. So I'm going to spend an hour on TikTok scrolling through, liking what I want on my feed so that they can pinpoint my personality. And that was the biggest mistake I've done all year.
Because the minute I started going on TikTok, which I think was around when Folklore came out.
Okay.
Because I wanted to see all the Taylor Swift TikToks, and then I started making TikToks, and then I stopped making TikToks. It's addictive.
It's so bad.
But it's also how bad is it for you?
No, so bad. Like I'm downplaying it right now.
Oh no.
Like when we're at work and there's some downtime, I will literally take one headphone out just so I can take TikTok and put it in front of me and watch like a few more videos, just because like I might find something gold, like a gold nugget. Or
For
if
the
I'm
record, in the middle of a meeting last week, I got a TikTok from Jon, which means he was not listening to a word anyone was saying, and he was watching TikToks.
This is why I know it's bad. We are in the middle of a work meeting, and I'm literally on mute looking down, and I'm looking down at TikTok. I'm on TikTok. Like, I should be listening to, like, my boss or you. But instead,
usually mostly me.
Yeah, mostly you. But I'm trying to get, like, 2 or 3 more videos in. Like, every time I go to the bathroom, I'm not texting anymore. I'm just on TikTok, dude. Every time
I'm actually glad you're not texting from the bathroom.
Yeah, it's kind of nice, actually.
Except now I'm thinking that, when did I text you and you didn't respond? I can't remember what it was about. But I'm thinking that maybe you didn't respond because you were so in the TikTok zone.
This is entirely possible. And I noticed because there was one day I was spending, it was literally like an hour and a half straight on TikTok. This was like when it first got me. And I was like, I cannot believe I just did this. This is a movie. Like I just watched an entire movie of TikToks.
Right.
Anyways, eventually when you start scrolling that much, TikTok themselves gives you this message and they're like, hey, you've been on TikTok for a while. You should probably relax and put the phone down. These videos will be here tomorrow.
Okay, what's so funny is I've never gotten that, but my best friend Tammy said it was getting so bad. She was getting those multiple times a night, every night. So
yeah, it's a thing, dude. I've only got, every time I see that, I'm like, I just don't like things telling me what to do. So I scroll at least 2 or 3 more videos and then I cut myself off.
Yeah.
It's hard though.
Maybe you should start,
I don't know why I'm so addicted.
Boundaries.
I need to. I don't know why I'm so addicted. Like it's just knowing that it's never ending. It's not like Instagram where you can go through your feed and like once you've seen everything that people have been doing because you only follow a certain amount of people. But on TikTok, the whole world is there. You know, like the videos will never end. And I'm like, what if this one video was going to be like the funny one that like I'm going to send to Erica because it's perfect. I don't know why I get so much joy out of it.
Because also, have you ever gotten to the end of your Instagram?
No.
Okay.
But like, I only go on Instagram for like, I'm really on Instagram for 30 seconds at a time. So I'll scroll a little bit and like the people that I see all the time are there. And once I've passed those, I start getting to people that I don't really keep up with that much. And then I'm like, all right, I've seen Instagram.
I have no words for you other than like, set boundaries and maybe don't TikTok during work.
Yeah, that would probably be a good idea.
Meetings. You can do it like in the off time of work.
No, I don't want to do that either. I just need to like relax on TikTok.
Do you think if you like set a boundary to not, why did I say boundary like that? That was weird. Do you think if you set a boundary to like not do it during work hours that it'll help? Or will it make it worse after work hours?
I think it helps because I think the more I'm on it, the more I want to see because I know the possibilities that are out there, you know? So if I just don't touch it, it's easier.
This, you not wanting to get off TikTok is also the summation of like your weird commitment issues. You commit to getting off TikTok because you're afraid there's gonna be something else good out there. And like in life, you don't like committing to plans because you're afraid that something else is gonna come up. You went out of a different app for that one.
Wow.
Oh, you don't want to talk about that more?
No, you kind of nailed it. I'm kind of pissed off now. I feel seen.
I am telling you, sorry, I just got a text from my best friend and all it says is, I'm not wearing underwear. Out of nowhere. I realize she's getting a spray tan right now. That's why she texted that. But
Fair.
Anyway, I've spent enough time in therapy to be able to dissect something like that for you.
Kind of impressed.
So thank you.
Reluctant to share more things now.
Yeah, well, that's what we're going to do this episode.
I'm pumped for it.
We're going to talk about breakups. So if you don't want to cry, I don't know, stick around. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. I don't want to tell them to leave.
Yeah, definitely don't leave.
Yeah.
Just put it, I doubt you'll cry, but there are some listeners, I think there were only 2 so far that reached out to us within the past 2 weeks, I think, that are going through a breakup right now. And we just felt it was our civic duty as 2 individuals who have recently mastered the breakup.
I have not mastered it.
I was just trying to boost us a little.
Expertise here.
Yeah. But 2 people who
I actually
have recently...
think I failed it somehow.
I don't think you can fail. No, you can definitely fail a breakup.
You for sure can.
But you have not failed. I don't think you failed.
I mean, okay.
Let's get into that in a minute.
Yeah.
I think it's my turn. to look inside you and see, whoa, I didn't like that at all.
Oh, wow. Do you
anyways,
want to rephrase that?
We do have some listeners going through a breakup, so we thought,
yes.
what better than going through that together with some friends where we can share some breakup tips, because there's no handbook to going through a breakup, and sometimes you sit there and you wonder to yourself, because after a breakup, you question almost everything. You question yourself, you question the world around you, you're questioning what you should do next, and sometimes you don't know if you're doing things correctly or if you're doing things differently than everyone else is, and it's kind of hard to navigate what the right thing to do is. So I think maybe it will help if we kind of ask some questions together and kind of see where everyone's at and how everyone deals with things, so maybe we can make a more informed breakup decision.
It's interesting what you just said, though, because I don't think there is ever like the right way to do it or the normal way. Like, I really think that every situation is different. And I even think that for the two people involved in the breakup, it's different.
I agree with that.
Interesting.
That's a good point. But I do think there are perhaps some universal tactics that will help one move on more efficiently.
Okay.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
And again, that's where I think I failed. I don't think my efficiency is quite up there. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
No, well, I wonder why. I think that's what we should dive into, you know?
Okay.
So, Erica, where would you self-define yourself? Where would you say your progress is right now on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being freshly broken up with and 10 being completely moved on? Where would you place yourself at this current time after your breakup?
Well, it's funny because last week on our episode, I literally was like, I've been doing so much better. This week has been so much better. And then I got stressed today, and it really just brought up everything in my life that is making me not happy. So yesterday I was like a 6.5.
Okay.
Like pretty good.
Okay.
I feel like today I'm like back to a 4.
But I think that the waves always happen. You know, I don't think you're only on a linear scale going straight to 10. You know what I mean? I think you have to kind of back up a little bit and find an overall average number of where you're at, because some days are always harder than others.
That's true. Like, okay, so your timeline is tricky to dive into because it wasn't crystal clear cut one day. But where would you say you are on that scale? Because you have had a little bit of a longer time than I have, but it was also a much longer relationship.
I think as an overall number, I would say I'm at like an 8.3.
Okay, so we're at very different places.
Yeah, because I think that a 10 to me is ready to jump back into another relationship. You're ready for anything that comes at you. And at this current moment in time, I'm still really enjoying having like my personal freedoms and this place in life where I'm currently at, you know? And like some days are hard sometimes, you know what I mean? Some days you're in your thoughts a little bit more than others, but overall, I think we're just about there.
That makes me really happy for you, because recently I was thinking about how I get really bummed out when you're bummed out because you don't tell me about it until after.
Yeah, this is true.
So you'll like a week later be like, oh yeah, 2 weeks ago really sucked. And I'm like, what? Like, why don't you tell me this? Literally, I'm having a bad day and Jon knows like third person. So
yeah, I don't know. I think I would just rather talk about when things were hard in the past, because then you already know I got over it, and then it's less weird for me, you know?
Yeah.
But if I'm going through it, like, I don't know how anyone's gonna help, and I don't know how to help. I just gotta like deal with it.
Let me ask you something serious. Do you not know how to ask for help? You are hating this episode already.
I don't think so, honestly. Like, I would like to believe that I know how to ask for help, but in the moment, I probably don't, to be honest.
Wow.
I'm not sure.
We can so dive into more of that later, but I won't like, totally grill you on it now. But I actually think that maybe that's the one thing in breakups that I do well, is like I'm super honest with people around me. Is I'm like, hey, I'm so effing sad right now, and then we talk about it.
I think I don't like people seeing me there, you know, because I have this like personality that I like to be, you know, like I like to be happy. I like to have fun. It's where I enjoy myself the most. So if I don't enjoy myself sad, I don't want other people to see that place that I already don't enjoy myself. So, and I know that I can handle it. Like, I'm pretty good at working through things on my own. So I think if I just power through it, we'll get to the end, dude.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that you have to like deal with it alone.
I know. And I mean I reach out in other ways, I think.
Okay. What are your thoughts on when you're going through like the bad days? Does your brain, and I'm obviously asking this because I operate one way, but like, do you ever go to that place of like thinking like they're probably fine, or like, I hope they're not as good as they might be?
Of course, I think everyone goes through that. I think that you think those thoughts at some point, right?
Right.
And I do think a lot of those thoughts sometimes, but and this is something I do a lot when it comes to breakups and stuff like that. I always just try and as soon as a thought that comes up that I will not get an answer to or that is only going to harm me, I think about how that doesn't matter, how it's not my issue anymore.
So like, what's
I
an
need to
example
focus
of
on you.
that?
Huh?
Like, how are they doing?
Exactly.
Or-
Like if I start to think they're probably fine or I hope they're not fine, like as soon as that thought pops into my mind, I start thinking about whatever the answer is to that question isn't going to change me. It's not going to change my day-to-day life. It's not going to change my progress in moving on because at the end of the day, I have to worry about me and I have to worry about my progress moving on with things. And that's the only thing I can control and focus on. So I try and stay focused on my personal path rather than the outside path. And in the beginning, that's extremely hard. But
super hard.
that's what I do.
Will say now, though, if you are listening to this episode and you need help going through a breakup, that is really good advice. Because I don't know if anyone's ever like told it. Obviously, probably in a way, been like, oh, it doesn't matter, he doesn't matter, whatever. But like the way you put it makes more sense, I think.
So, and I think sometimes that's more difficult today because of social media. So here's my question to you. Do you think you should always unfollow your ex?
No.
Okay.
And that may be because I just simply don't want to. If something really bad happened between you, yes. And then I don't think I blocked my ex on social media. My last one, the bad one.
Right.
Not this most recent one. But I blocked his phone number, so.
Okay.
But that was because he kept reaching out. And he was reaching out at a point that I was at a 10. And so I didn't want to hear it anymore. And I had no interest in speaking with him. So I blocked his number.
So go ahead.
What? Oh, I just think with social media, if it wasn't bad and you would like to remain some level of friends or even cordial or whatever it is in the future, unfollowing is like a statement.
See, I would like to disagree.
Okay.
Who would have thought?
Okay.
Right?
What do you want to say?
I think that no matter what the circumstances, even if you're trying to be friends, you should unfollow for a short period of time at least. I think that if you have serious feelings involved with someone and you are watching them still live their life, it's going to be hard to convince yourself that you are no longer a part of it when you're still seeing it as if you are. You know what I mean?
What about muting them?
Muting's good. Okay, I'd take
So
muting.
you can still check up on them.
Yeah, muting is a little bit less aggressive. But you're right. The hardest challenge is actually committing to that. In most breakups, and even this most current one, for the first couple of months, I didn't unfollow because I didn't want to. I was like, yeah, we can still be friends. Like, it's
Right.
totally fine. I want this to be good. And I didn't get over anything like in that period of time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I didn't make enough progress. And I was too focused on what the other person was doing. Like, even if I knew it was something chill, like it was still on my mind. I was like, I wonder what they're doing. Like, they're at a park. Are they at a park with someone? Does it matter? No. But like that thought's there. And I don't need that in my lane. You know, I need to stay focused.
Totally.
You know, there's like things in a horse race that they put on the horses so they can blinders.
Do you not remember? Yes. Do you not remember the episode where I was like, yeah, if you have your blinders on and you literally looked to the side?
I do remember.
Yes.
That was a good video.
Yes. So you want your blinders on.
Yes.
In a
And I
breakup.
think it is the best way to efficiently be focused on yourself in a breakup. And then once you're convinced that you're fully over it or at a level where you think you can handle seeing them with someone or see them living their life and maybe doing things that you're not used to them doing, then you can add them back once you feel that you're ready.
My problem with that is if you truly unfollow and then go back to follow, you're restarting communication. So
True.
it's like if you go to refollow them, then they're going to be like, oh, they followed me again, which means I should reach out. Or like, I just don't think that you want to like dip your pen in that puddle.
But I think if you're having those thoughts and conversations, then it's too soon.
I have not good with that.
Okay. I mean, I've recently been followed by people that I had even minor relationships with years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And like now it's like, I get it. Like it's cool. Like you wish each other well. Like I don't feel the need to reach out just because you followed me. You know what I mean? I think it just says, hey, we're past that now. We've both moved on. Like no hard feelings. Like let's not even engage in like the drama part. Like we're both comfortable being over this. So like, yeah, it's cool to know that you're doing well in life.
But if you're following someone, isn't the point to keep up with them and like to know how they are and to maybe check in sometimes?
Yeah, and I think if you had a good breakup or something that you didn't fall out of in a very negative way, then you'd want that.
No,
like
I know, but then refollowing them is opening the door.
I don't think it is. If it's far enough past and both of you understand that like you're not trying to get back together, but you don't have any hard feelings, then I don't think it would be an issue.
This would be years for me.
Okay, and that's absolutely fine.
It would take years. And there are some people I will never refollow.
And that's a whole different thing. You know, if you have something against someone, you just don't want that negativity or those kinds of actions in your life, then I think you just don't follow them back ever, you know?
Yeah. And the whole social media thing makes it all a lot harder.
Dude, it makes it so much harder.
Like, I'm sure you did the same, and it's like such a, we love to call it RSB at the morning show, recently single behavior. It's so, and this, I mean, I'm guilty of this, like the whole like posting extra because you want them to see it thing. And I find myself, not anymore, but I used like a couple weeks ago even still, I would post like stories just to like see if he's checking. And
or you want him to see that you're out and not sulking in your room thinking about it, you know?
Except the pandemic, and
that
I
didn't
haven't
help.
really been out. But, you know, I just threw a rubber band at the camera because I was so hyped on the fact that, and you couldn't see it. It was really weird. I was just so excited that, like, I can go do that now. So I am starting to post about being out and about, and it has nothing to do with wanting other people to see it.
Right. And I mean, that's just one of the things that naturally you kind of want to do in the beginning. And there's a line between doing things to make you feel better and finding yourself and doing things to be spiteful, you know?
Yes.
Now, what are some newly single RSB behavior? You don't need to repeat the B. That's like EDM music. Like, you don't need to do that, you know?
What?
Like, you don't need to say RSB behavior because the B's are there.
Right. You don't need to say EDM music. I see what you're saying.
Okay.
Some RSBs.
Some RSBs. Because I feel like with girls, the number one thing that I noticed is changing your hair. I don't know why every girl does that. That's like the thing to do.
This is the first breakup ever that I haven't chopped my hair off, like in the neck, in like the first month. But it's only because I have weddings where I would have cut it off.
Well, why? Explain this to me. I just would like to know.
I think you just like want to feel like rejuvenated and like fresh, and you want to like feel like who cares and like I can do anything I want.
Okay.
Not that like any man has ever told me not to cut my hair, but
maybe it makes you feel like a new person too.
I think so. And like I definitely went through a phase this time where I was like, should I get bangs? And the answer is probably not.
I don't hate bangs.
No, but I think I'm gonna get some little like curtain bangs.
Side bangs.
But 2 of them, so they're curtain. Side bangs would be if I like parted my hair like over here and then did like, you know.
Wait. So you're not down for regular bangs, but you're down for curtain bangs?
Yeah, but I'm not getting like the straight across big bangs.
I like those.
I used to have those, but like, it's a no for me right now.
Okay, hey. This is your hair.
Yeah, it's my hair, and girls should do whatever they want. Also, though, remember when you were talking about wanting a tattoo?
Yeah, I was so dead set on it.
That was super RSB.
Yeah, I know, 100%.
I went through the same thing. I texted you randomly and was like, I think I need a tattoo, right?
Yeah. And I don't know what it is. I don't know why.
I think you just like need to feel something. Yeah. You need to feel some form of like emotion or feeling that isn't sad.
Yeah, and I feel like a tattoo gives kind of a
new me vibe.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a new me vibe. And I think when you're recently single, you want some of that I'm a different person now, like I can change vibe, you know?
Yeah. Was there anything else you did? Because there's also the classic, like, go make out with people, but it's pandemic, so we haven't really
Pandemic
done
didn't
that.
help that at all.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that what scares me sometimes is I've noticed that some people in breakups change permanently. And that, to me, I never wanted to do.
Change who they are, or
change who they are. Exactly. Like, I think some people, whether that makes them harder or that makes them less trusting of people, or maybe they got hurt and so they change themselves after that. To like protect yourself from getting hurt again. Yeah, and that's
I don't
what
really
mean.
trust people.
And
it's not cute.
It's not healthy, I guess. But if it changed you to make you happier, sure. But I think that's something that I try not to do, at least.
Yeah, that's good. But it's interesting. I think in my experience, I know more women who after relationships carry the like lack of trust or whatever it is with them. And I don't do you feel like your guy friends do that too, but you just don't talk about it?
It depends. I think everyone's got that one that initially rips your heart out at first. You know, like the first girl I fell in love with, and like the first one that like broke my heart or whatever back in right after I graduated high school. I carried that with me for a long time. I was like very untrusting. I thought that I couldn't like let my feelings show to people. And it took me a long time to realize that that doesn't happen every time. You know what I mean?
Although, like, does it not?
No, I don't think it does. And I think that that's an important thing to realize too, is like, you should normalize breakups, because breakups are going to happen, dude. Like, you're going to get hurt multiple times in your life. And I think if you're scared of that, then you're closing yourself off to love, and you're not really you're making it worse than it is by being scared of it. But if you welcome it and you understand that you're going to get hurt a couple times, then when it happens, you're like, well, like this had happened before. I got through it. I'm going to get through this one. It might happen again after this. And then it makes that heartbreak less severe because it just becomes a routine thing in life.
I don't think that heartbreak is a routine thing ever. It always hurts different.
Does it though?
I've only really had my heart broken like 3 times. So
And
those 3 were all different, I think.
Okay. But you missed someone. You had someone missing that was once there, and you appreciated the good times, but like whatever happened, for better or for worse, they're not there anymore.
Yeah. That middle one is foggy, though. I was in so much anger for so long. Not even so long, really. It was like a month of anger, that I don't remember the sadness.
Okay.
But maybe that's because my brain has blocked it out. Yeah, like I don't think they're routine. I think like every time they suck. Like they always suck.
But I don't think that should scare you. Because some people get hurt.
What
once,
is it supposed to
like,
do? Welcome me?
Yeah. You should be like, well, that sucks. Guess what? I got through it. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, yeah, there is that.
People always, I always like challenge people when I see that they got their heart broken, or that they went through a breakup and they're like, I'm not trusting men again, or I'm not trusting women again, or that's the last time I let someone in. You
want to challenge me right now?
Yeah, I'll challenge you right now, because it's scared, you know, and I get it. It's a fear it's like, I get why you're scared, but at the same time, you shouldn't be focused on how to not let that in again. You should be focused on how you can work on getting through it better.
Yeah.
Like if you work on your ability to come back from times you've been hurt, that next time you get hurt is not going to be hurt as bad, because you're going to know you're going to be able to bounce back from it. You know what I mean?
I see your point. But
Okay.
I think that for me, looking at this current situation I'm in and the last one, so obviously the podcast knows I got cheated on-ish, whatever it was. And it sucked, but I was pissed. And then I started going, and then I met someone. And so I started going to therapy, because I was like, I need to learn how to let people in because of my past, right? So like I did the work of like trying to make sure it wouldn't hurt so bad, or that I could figure it out. And then here we are again. But it's a different kind of pain.
But knowing
And this one sucks more.
But knowing what you're feeling now, would you go through it again? If I could take you in a time machine to the time you first met this guy and you just started having feelings for him, and I showed you these feelings, and you knew exactly what it was going to feel like, and exactly what was coming, would you go through it all over again? Knowing how it was going to end.
Oh my God, what an awful question.
Have you seen Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind?
No.
Guys,
this?
that's literally this. It's Jim Carrey, and I forgot who he's with, but essentially it's this whole love story, and you can have your memory wiped in this movie. And so eventually they have their memory wiped because they went through this terrible breakup and they both got heartbroken. And then after their memory got wiped, they meet each other again and they find all of the files or whatever of the memory that was wiped. And they know that they don't work out. And they know that it ends terribly. And then they decide, are we going to continue to fall in love knowing that this is not going to happen? And they do. Because
That's
the
so
love
optimistic.
is beautiful. And even though it's not going to end, what you have in that window of finding that love is so amazing that like you can't deny that in life. It's part of living, and it's one of the most amazing things you can find.
Okay, I have a question for you regarding
Such a
your
good
question.
movie. God.
That is, yeah, that's all interesting to me now. So you're saying if you could take me in a time machine back to when I first met this guy.
Yeah.
Do I have the lessons in my tool belt of what I learned from this already?
That's a good question.
Because
Does that
I would
change your
say,
answer though?
Yes.
Okay.
I learned so much through this. I learned a lot about what I deserve, and I mean that in the way I was treated was incredible, and I would like that again, and the way I felt was incredible, and I would like that again.
Okay.
But I also learned a lot about like where my boundaries are. And my boundaries were really pushed to the limit, to the point that it didn't work out.
And that's fair.
And for the record, I don't mean like any weird cheating stuff. That's not the boundaries.
Of course, of course.
So if I already had those, I'd probably do it again. Because I'm a hopeless romantic, and I fully let myself get all in, and it felt great at the time.
And I think when you admit that, it takes away some of the regret feeling. Like sometimes when you're hurt, you're like, oh my God, I wish I never met this guy. I wish I never met this girl. If I could go back, I would. But then when you actually ask yourself that question, and if you can admit that you loved what you had in that window of time, then it makes it easier to go through the breakup just a little bit, you know?
I mean, I don't know if I agree with that, but I wouldn't undo anything that I had.
So just going back, let's go to the relationship before that, the one that ended in you kind of getting cheated on.
Yeah.
Would you go back into that relationship?
Okay. Same situation.
Same situation.
Timeline.
Yep.
Honestly, maybe not.
Really?
I loved him at a time, but what I think I loved a version of him that maybe isn't the real version of him. And it was never as like full. I mean, I really, really cared about him, but I do think that relationship was a lot of me being ready for a relationship and being ready to be serious, and him coming into my life at the right time of when I was like, yeah, I'm in.
But do you think that if you weren't with him, you would have had to learn that same lesson from someone else?
Ew.
Because you were pretty happy in the beginning, kind of, you know, and you thought you wanted things that you now realize you didn't want. And you now have all these signs of red flags of things that you don't want. And if you didn't date this guy, you would not have learned those things. And you probably would have had to learn it from some other douchebag.
John, why are you being so full of wisdom?
That's why I just don't want people to, like, I like to try and appreciate breakups because usually good things come from them. Good things come from the relationship, even if it was a bad one, and good things come from how much you can build yourself up after a breakup.
Okay, I have two things. The first one is I read something about how even though a relationship ends, that doesn't necessarily mean it wasn't successful.
Right.
And I think I forget that often because I think that anytime the two of you had a positive experience and left with something, which could be a lesson or just a great time.
Absolutely.
That doesn't mean it was a failure. My second is, so are you saying that you would never go back and undate someone?
I would never go back.
In your entire dating history?
In my entire dating history, there's not one person I would undate.
Wow.
There are some people that I would definitely like to, but
you
the
wouldn't do it
lesson
because you don't think you would learn.
Right. The lesson that I learned from them is one that I want to make sure I know moving forward. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to make that mistake again, and it can save me from falling for someone or even liking someone that I do not want to be with. You know what I mean?
What do you think is the biggest lesson you learned from this last breakup?
From this last one? Oh my god.
Just the last one.
Um,
Or it could be multiple.
Yeah, I'll give some for multiple.
Okay.
One thing that I have learned is you have to treat your life moving forward as if they're never going to apologize for anything. They're never going to come back. Like, whether or not that is the truth, that's how you need to live your life. You can't wait for closure. You can't have that talk with them to like make everything okay.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
We'll talk about that in a minute. But like, if there are things that you feel were done to you or things that you were hurt by, you can't wait for that apology because it may not come. They may not come back. You may not be able to work out together in the future. And you really have to focus on making yourself the best person that you can be and creating a life that you want to live without them. And sometimes that's hard.
From day one, you have to go into that mentality of they're not coming back.
Yes.
Okay.
And
I agree.
Even if you do, even better, but I still think you need to move on as if you won't.
It's better to get back with someone if you knew you were okay without them than to get back with them simply because you are lonely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think good things can come from that. I think that I've been talking to people about this recently, but I feel like I've done a complete circle, kind of.
Okay.
I think that towards the end of my last relationship, I was acting in ways that I didn't feel were me. I was kind of like losing sight of core values of myself. And I mean, to dive into that a little bit, like I was questioning the things that I value and how those affected my personality. For example, like my girlfriend at the time was probably ready to like move in together, and live that adult life. And for a while there, I started to question myself because I didn't think I was ready for that. And then I started to think, why not? Like, maybe I should be. I'm 27 years old. She's younger than me and she's ready for these things. Maybe something's wrong with me. Maybe it's my fault that I'm not ready and I should probably learn to mature and grow up. And I'm sure that there's a time where that conversation needs to be had. But what I've learned from this breakup and being alone is I've really been in tune with the things that matter to me. And I don't think I would have been happy if I committed to something sooner than I was ready for. I think I need to be ready for it on my time.
For sure. This is kind of what we talked about. And I'm sure maybe that's where this came from. What we talked about last week with like your timelines can be different. And that just might mean it doesn't work out.
Exactly. Okay. And I think that's sometimes what happens. So I find that the me when I first met my girlfriend 2 years ago, I feel like I'm that person now. I think I've made some mistakes, and I think that like I've had to jump around left and right after after the breakup happened, so I could find the middle of where I'm supposed to be. But I think that all led me to the person that I truly feel my most self in.
So you felt like you were your best self before you guys met?
I think so, in a lot of ways.
In the middle somewhere, just maybe trying to meet someone else's standards and someone else's expectations and all of that. And now you feel back to your best self. But my question is, do you think you are? So let's call like John A is like who met his now ex.
Right.
John B is you now. Do you feel like John B has like growth and lessons than John
yes.
A? Okay.
So that's the point I wanted to make too, is there are so many things I learned from this relationship that I had never learned before. Like I'd never been in a relationship this long term, like we did for 2 years. And I wasn't used to compromising parts of my life. I wasn't used to being a boyfriend that like paid attention to the long-term needs of a girlfriend and like devoting that time, and
Good
making commitments. And like those are things that I needed to learn, and I love that I did learn along the way. And so again, like this is just another reason that there's so much I learned from the relationship. But when it comes to my happiness and what makes me me and the things I care about, that is back to how I felt then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think I took the best parts of it, and we're growing.
And you're there. I'm very happy for you. That makes me so happy.
Do you feel like a different person today than you were when you met this person over a year ago?
Oh, when I met them or when we started dating? Two different timelines.
Okay, when you started dating.
Because I actually met them when I was still dating my other ex.
Wow.
So for that, yes, very different person than when I met. When we started dating, no, I don't. I think that I don't think that who I am at the core is ever going to change again. I've been me to the bone. It's like bad to the bone. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I've been exactly who I am and who I always will be for a couple years now, maybe just like 2. And I don't think my priorities have changed, and I don't think what I want out of my life has changed, and I don't think like I really think that I've known myself really well for a while now.
That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like it's hard because then I go through the breakup and I'm like, that's what's been hard, is that I go back to like, but why isn't that good enough? If that's good enough for me, why isn't it good enough for other people? And I know that's probably not really the issue, but
good enough and compatibility are two different things. You know,
Totally.
A lot of people get stuck thinking I'm not good enough for this relationship, or he didn't like me. And that doesn't necessarily mean you're not enough. It just meant that it wasn't a match, you know?
right.
And I think sometimes, I like that you said you've always been comfortable in who you are and the things that you
Not
value and
always.
care about.
But
Okay.
in recent years, yes.
Good. I enjoy that because, I mean, when I was first going through my most recent breakup, like I felt like I was having to discover some of that. You know what I mean? There was like a time where I was like, do I ever want kids? Like ever? You know?
Yeah.
And like that's not a thought I had ever really come to actually question before. And so like
Yeah.
there were all these questions I was re-asking myself to make sure that I doubled back down on my answer and felt confident in it, you know?
That's great though, because that means that like the next person you meet, you'll already know those things about yourself.
Right.
And you don't have to sit there and question it. Like, as say, you know, the next girl you meet is like, I want 3 kids. You already know your answer of whether or not that's going to work for you.
So true. So true.
And, you know, and so I'm not afraid to, I have like insecurities about like how I look and my body and like what people think of me, but I'm not insecure about just fully being who I am. Because like I will tell you on like a second date if I want 5 kids, you know, like I'm not afraid of that, because if it's not you, it's not you.
And I think breakups are, I think, the best time to become the best version of you again. You know,
agree.
You can do anything you want to do. You can dive into work. You can dive into health and fitness, or the
I was like,
hobbies
my
that you love.
go-to is working out. Hardcore.
Absolutely. And I think that you're the best you when you're just focused on you. And when you can finally do that, I think you're only creating a better you for the next person that comes along.
I agree. I mean, we asked on our Instagram stories last week what people's tips were for breakups. And my sister said, find a hobby or something you love doing but haven't had time for in a while. And that's so true. Like, I think that's the best way. And also surrounding yourself with friends is my
huge
advice. But what's been tricky for me is I moved to Arizona like the week of this breakup, and I don't have many friends here. So I really was like alone in my thoughts for a while.
You're right, because I think when you're going through a breakup, you have to say yes to every social opportunity that comes your way. Even if you don't want to go, you have to.
Totally.
You got to get out. You got to surround yourself with friends. You really have to get that social interaction from everyone else so you can start making those detachments, because it's hard, dude.
And I feel for people who went through breakups earlier in the pandemic and aren't getting this like silver lining feeling as they're, because I'm ready to like freaking go now. Like, I'm ready to go out. I'm not in that like I want to sit at home and cry phase. So I feel for people who 6 months, 8 months ago were going through these breakups and didn't have the option of even going out to dinner with friends or going, you know, to do some things that we have now. Such a great point. I mean, you were kind of in the bad zone, but you live with bros. So like,
yes, I think I was very blessed to literally live with friends.
Right.
Like, it makes it a lot easier.
But yeah, it's, you know, I think a big part about the breakup is not like accepting the first next thing to come. Did that make sense?
Yeah, it did.
Because it's like, that could be great, but you have to make sure you're not doing that because you're lonely or you're sad.
Yes, that's actually a really good point. I think that it's not necessarily a bad thing to jump on dating apps or go out and hang out with people of the opposite sex.
What did you say?
Go out with people of the opposite sex. You think I said go out with people and have sex?
Entirely. Yeah, I was like, geez, John.
No, I don't think that will help. But I also don't think it helps to jump into a new relationship too quick, because I think that all of your detached pieces from the person that you were just with gets thrown at someone else without completing yourself first. And I think it's when you're detaching from someone, you need to like fill those pieces first before you can go to someone else.
Right. That's why I'm actually like, the part of me is like, oh, I have no friends and I can't go out and I can't really meet people. But I've been glad to have time to just be like, it's just you. You got to figure out what you can separate, and go from there. Like, you need to be okay before you can date someone.
Do you think it is ever okay to get back together with an ex?
I have done it. So didn't end well.
But would you still recommend that it's possible though?
I think that this is a tricky question because anyone who's listening to this right now and is going through a breakup, if I say yes, it's so possible. It could totally work. They're going to hope for that. And I remember when we were, I don't remember what this was about. At work, I was going through a breakup and they were saying they always come back. They'll come back. They'll come back. They always come back. And it's like, that's a dangerous place. We were just saying you have to move forward without hoping they'll come back. So my answer is I think it can work, but that is not the rule. That is the exception.
I agree with that. I remember when my sister was going through her biggest breakup that she'd been through. She was in high school and I was in college at the time. And all of her friends told her he'll come back. He'll come back. He'll come back. And she respected me because I was the only person in her entire life that told you, no, he won't. Like, you need to move on as if he will never come back. And sure enough, he came back. But but you need to move on as if they won't, Yeah. But that being said, I do think, just objectively speaking, it's possible to get back with an ex, assuming that A, you forgive each other for whatever reason you guys broke up in the first place. And it's actually a decision that is best for both of you rather than not wanting to find something else.
Yes, it has to be because you actually are better together than anyone else in the world and not because you think you're better together than off alone.
Or because you're scared to find someone else or to meet someone or to get your heart broken again from someone else. Like,
yeah, it's a tricky thing because, I've done it and it didn't end well. Like twice. It didn't end well. So,
are you still friends with them?
These people that I broke up with and got back together?
Yes.
One of them is no, because I got back together with him just for him to cheat on me. The first one.
Nice.
Honestly, it is funny now. It is. And that's the beauty of anger is it becomes something you just don't care about.
I mean, sadness does that too.
I do not feel that way.
Oh, that just is me then.
No, you're probably right. I am cordial with the other ex that I got back together with. But, with this breakup, I wouldn't say we weren't on and off, but it was back and forth of kind of how serious we were, I guess.
Okay.
And like this current one. And when we did finally break it off, I had friends say, like, I just don't feel like this is the end. And I did tell them, I was like, I have to believe it is, though, because I want nothing more. Probably, if he still today called me and said, I made a mistake, I'd probably be like, let me consider it.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's why I know I got some work to do.
You ain't there yet. Yeah.
That's why she's a 4.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. We're moving along. Yeah. But I think that's still healthy that you guys are having that. There's at least no like animosity towards each other at the moment. No,
but don't you think that it's so much easier to have animosity?
That's probably true. But the animosity sucks, dude. I think when you break up with someone or get broken up with or you split for any reason, I think that when it's toxic, it becomes this battle of winning and losing. Like, you don't want to lose the game of the breakup. Like, you want to win. You want them to see you moving on first. You want to be with someone else first. You want to see that you're doing better than them. And I think that's just so toxic. And as soon as that comes into play, the respect for me is gone. Like, I don't want to play that game. I think that if you loved someone for any reason and you had those feelings for them once, I don't think you should. I think you should recognize that you're both going through something and do your best to not play that game.
That's so interesting. Like, I hadn't thought of it that way. It's like, yeah, there is that part of you that wants to win.
Yeah.
But if you actually really respect them and care for them, like, you should want them to be happy in the long run. And you'll be happy too. Like, it'll be fine.
And it sucks to see them happy. It sucks that if you're not trying to play the winning game, but you see them winning, it's hard to not treat it as that game, you know? Because you're like, oh my God, they're moving on. I am not there yet. Like, what am I doing wrong? Like, I have to do something now because now I'm being, you feel dumb. You feel like you're losing, you know?
Right. It's also interesting, though, because then from the other side, even if I was posting about going on dates or doing whatever, and he was looking at me as winning, like, the truth is I'm just trying to get by. And sometimes that'll include going on dating apps or going on dates or whatever it is. And it's like, so really, you have no idea what they're actually going through.
100%. That's such a good point.
So the next time you find yourself thinking like they're winning, maybe take a step back and be like, wait, are they though?
They might not be. And I think this is another reason why it's good to keep your blinders on and not look at where they're at. Don't look at where they're at in the race.
You make a good point, John, but
it's hard because you want to be friends, but you can't. You can't, dude. You got to give it some time.
Are you friends with any of your exes?
Yes.
Good friends. Could text them right now and say, how's it going?
Yes. It took a while.
Nice.
Yeah.
Like years a while or?
Years a while, for sure. Just to make sure that
years a while, a new phrase by us.
Years a while. But I think that if you play that game, sometimes you ruin those relationships forever, and then that your actions in a breakup define you. You know?
What do you mean by that?
Like if you do something just to piss off this guy that you recently broke up with, like, then that's how he's gonna remember you. That's who you are to him now. And he's like, oh man, he'll think about that Erica that he met and that you guys had great times with. And then it's going to suck because that's like not you anymore, you know? Like you are now replaced by this image of whatever you're doing in spite of him, you know?
I've worried about that, about how he will remember me because I have been so sad and we were/are, but probably more were trying to be friends in the moment. And that leads to a very sad Erica. Like, so now I'm like, oh, he's just like going to remember me as like the girl that was sad all the time.
Also, wouldn't you want someone to remember you for the best of you so that maybe one day they will look back on what an amazing person you are or what they're missing out on? Like, I'd rather have him look back and be like, wow, we ended and Erica took it so well. She hurt. She got over it. She moved on. She did her own thing and she did nothing to spite me for it. He's going to respect you forever, you know?
Yeah, I don't think I did anything to spite him for it, but we have had some hard conversations.
I mean, I'm sure naturally they come.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But like those are the things that make me worry. Because like when you're having a hard conversation, sometimes you say things that you're like, I wouldn't have said that if we were together. But here we are.
There are some times that I think back to good times with an ex. And then I start to think of the person that they are now. And those don't really match up. And it's hard to miss someone. I'm missing a person that doesn't exist anymore. You know what I mean? And that's tough sometimes.
How do you think your exes think of you?
It depends which one we're talking about.
Give me two different ones so that no one knows who they are. Girl A and girl B.
Let's think here. Girl A probably thinks, I wish that he would have been the person he is now when we met. Because I was probably a shit.
Okay.
And I've grown up a lot since college, you know?
You're not supposed to give a timeline. That kind of defeats girl A, girl B.
Oh, shit. We're stopping at girl A.
You're not going to go to girl B? We don't know anything about girl B?
I don't know. Girl B is probably like, I don't know.
Sayonara, sucker.
Sayonara, probably.
All right. We started talking today a little bit, and I know this is going along, but this is just fascinating stuff. But
it is. We're diving in.
We talked briefly today about, and maybe someday we will talk about this on the podcast, about going back in time and apologizing to people that you have wronged.
Yes.
And the bright side of my dating history is I don't think, and dudes, call me out if you want, if I've done this, but I don't think I've done something to anyone that deserves like a big apology other than like the first guy I ever dated. When we broke up, it was bad. And like we would still weirdly keep in touch and stuff, but we would also see each other every day. So it's different. He probably is owed an apology and if you're listening to this, I'm really sorry. I was psycho at 18. But since then, I don't think I'm the one who needs to give apologies.
Wow.
But
Nice.
also, does that mean that I'm just sitting around like, where's my apology? You know?
But would you
voice.
like an apology now from people who have not given you an apology, even though it's been years?
No. There's no one that mattered enough.
Okay.
And this is, take my first relationship out of it, I still think highly of him.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't, that's the one that I probably owe the apology to, if I owe
Right.
one. But I don't think he owes me an apology either. No, the only person I want an apology from is this current one, because it's current and it like sucks. But I don't think he did anything wrong. I don't think he did anything intentionally wrong or anything like that.
Right.
Do you feel that you owe or are owed apologies?
Yeah.
Both ways?
Both
Okay.
ways.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, because I don't know what else. I think it was when I first went to college and I was dating around. First of all, like, I also grew up very late. I didn't have my first kiss till I graduated high school. I still looked younger than everyone when I went to college. And I didn't really start dating around until probably my sophomore year of college, maybe junior year.
Okay.
And so when I started dating, I was like, wow, like, I could date. You know, there are like a lot of things out there. I don't know what I want. You know, this is kind of new to me when a lot of people kind of went through
This is the
that.
story of your life, man.
Yeah, 100%. This is where it all started, because I didn't really have a lot of options in high school. I was like 5'4". So like I was
Wow.
not, dude, I was so short.
Shrimps McGee.
Yeah, they literally called me Lil Jon.
Oh, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. But I think that I made some really good friends and had some really good potential relationships around that time, but due to my indecisiveness and like dating around, I don't think I respected the love and respect that I was given. I didn't reciprocate at all, and I don't think I realized what I had at that time. You know?
Yeah, but I give you a pass for that because you were young. And like you were learning
21.
what a relationship even is.
I mean, true, but like when you're hurting, you don't care about that. You know?
That's true.
Like, these people are fine now. You know? It's
Isn't
mostly
it
like
weird?
one person, like two people.
Sure. But
Yeah.
isn't it weird when you look back and you're like, I can't believe that ever. Like, you know, at a point you were very sad over something. There was just a bug in my face. But you can't quite tap back into the feeling of that. Because I remember being sad over boys, not even really in college. I did not date at all in college, which is a whole other podcast. But I can't tap back into the feeling I felt at 17 and 18 of going through that first heartbreak. I don't remember how bad it hurt.
Really?
I just
feel
remember
like
it sucked.
that's interesting. I
Yeah.
will never forget. I think that's also part of the reason that it was so hard for me to like to have a healthy relationship in college, is because I was still so torn up off that first relationship, and I guess I used that as an excuse, but in some way I was very scared to be trusting of one person again. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I definitely remember that, A. And B, I think that every time I start to forget what things feel like, the universe reminds me somehow.
Oh.
You know?
By like making you go through it again?
In some capacity, yes. Like before this breakup, like I didn't remember what it was like to hurt. I was like, you know, I had a girlfriend for 2 years, and before that, I didn't date anyone for years before that. I was like, you know, I don't remember like having to watch someone you care about go. You know, I forgot what that felt like, and then you get reminded. So I don't think those things ever go away. That's why there are heartbroken 40-year-old dudes at the bar sitting alone ordering drinks, because they're still feeling it sometimes. You know, I don't think that.
You're making me worried that I'm going to be like a heartbroken 40-year-old woman at the bar ordering drinks.
I'm not saying yar. I'm just saying you're possible.
But again, like I don't have, and maybe the difference is I don't feel like I was damaged by that first relationship. And I don't like to use the word damage, but it is what it is. I don't think that relationship changed me, other than it was just my first love, and I was able to kind of write it off as that and be like, it was what it was. We broke up. We were in high school.
Okay, this brings up such a good question to me that I kind of wonder I wonder if everyone feels love in the same capacity.
No way, John.
Huh.
No way.
Yeah, this makes sense.
Yeah.
I remember when I was first heartbroken, like it was this. I could not care about anything in the world more. It was the center of my life. You know, I loved with everything in me. Is it though? Like, does everyone love that way? I don't know.
I certainly do.
Okay, that's good. Sometimes I feel like I've met people who don't understand what it's like to care about someone like that, or people who have never been in love. It's interesting to me, you know, because I'm like, wow, you know.
Are you like, do you fall really fast and easy, or?
I tell people that I trip easy, but it's hard for me to fall. I'm in love with everyone I meet. I'm like, oh my God.
Stumble a long way down, basically.
Yeah, it's like I crush on people pretty easily, but in order to actually fall in love with someone, like that takes a long time. Like for me.
Interesting. I'm like oops, I slipped. Oh, there I go. It's done.
All the way down.
Sheet.
It's a stairwell down to the basement.
It's a stairwell, but I can't stop myself. Once I trip a little, like it's that, you know, the video of someone
elevator
falling
shaft.
down the stairs.
I've decided.
Yeah.
I don't know though.
Fun.
I'm stuck in this place now. I mean, this is a conversation for another episode too. This goes back to the standards thing we were talking about at the end of last episode. We should do this soon. But I wonder, do you want to end up with someone that you just feel the most for, or that is the most compatible for you?
John, what an awful question to ask. How am I supposed to pick? They can't be the same person?
I think that's ideal, but like it's hard to find when that's the same person.
It's interesting that I'm sober, and because what I'm about to say is kind of a big statement.
I'll lay it on me.
My fear is the way I felt about this last person is not something I will ever be able to feel again.
I don't think that's wrong of you to admit, because I feel like that is a fear. That's a fear I have felt for sure. But I think you feel differently, and that differently is better.
Got you. Like I will not feel the same feeling again.
Right. But someone else will make you feel a different way, and you will prefer that to the way you felt recently.
But see, then I think, because the question is the person you feel the most for or are the most compatible for or with, and I'm hoping that the next differently big feeling is also because we're really compatible.
I hope so.
No, but do you see what I'm saying? Like,
no, I do. Because, I mean, I think it took me so long to get into a relationship because I remembered what my first love feeling felt like, and I was chasing that high. I was like, I don't want to date again until I feel this. You know what I mean? Because I know what this is like, so why the hell am I going to settle for anything else? You know? And it took a long time, and I started to realize that feeling is a different feeling. Like we were talking about it last week, that's like a blind love feeling. Mm-hmm. And I've never... Was that 2 weeks ago? It was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, okay.
That is a blind love feeling. And you don't necessarily want that, because it feels cool when you do meet someone that is compatible, but you also have great feelings for. And when I met my last girlfriend, like I felt all of those things for sure, you know, and I was very pumped about it. So I think that
very pumped.
That can happen in the future.
Interesting.
So I wouldn't give up.
Yeah. It's so hard because I'm like, when you think about those things, when you think about feelings versus compatibility and where they have to line up in order for it to work, it makes me wonder why things haven't worked out in the past.
Yeah. And can you start to feel those feelings because someone is so compatible with you? Because they meet all your needs? Like, can you learn to develop those feelings?
I think so. If I met someone who walked into my life maybe in like 6 weeks, just, you know, so I can get to an 8.
Shot Girl Summer, that's coming first.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, at the end of Shot Girl Summer, I have no interest in men being this compatible with me until the end of it.
Yeah, agreed. Let's go like a September.
Yeah. So if this man walks in the door, I don't know of where, in September, and he's like, I also want 5 kids. I'd like to get married in about 4.2 years. And I love blonde radio producers. And I am emotionally mature. And I will drink a lot of wine with you. Like, yeah, I would probably end up having big feelings for him. I might be wrong.
Maybe. You could be right. But what if the way that he doesn't laugh at your jokes, you know, or like he
but
just
isn't
like
that part of what makes someone compatible?
Yeah.
So I'm saying if he was like a super compatible guy for me, I'd probably develop big feelings.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm looking for when I'm looking for the feelings thing. I want to
You're
not.
chasing a high.
I am, and I want to not be able to explain it, you know? Because when I listen to love songs, like, I feel like that's what it's supposed to feel like, you know? And maybe that's a little bit fabricated, but at the same time, I have felt that.
Okay, so you have felt it, so.
Yeah, more than once.
When I listen to breakup songs, I'm like, I've felt that.
Yeah, dude. And if you can feel that low as it is, there's got to be a high, you know?
There's got to be.
And there were times in my last relationship. Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yeah. And there were times in my last relationship I felt on top of the world, dude. Like, I was so happy and like
then
so
you'll
into
find
a
it
person.
Again.
Yeah, and things can change, but I'm just hoping that you find someone that will grow with you and that feeling doesn't go away.
What's more important to you, the compatibility or the high?
I don't know. This is the question. I think ideally you got to have both, but
if you can,
it's hard.
If you can have someone who's like compatible with you, but it's the high, but you fight, like, because that would mean you're fighting a lot.
I think I'd prefer that. I think I would prefer
You'd rather fight and ride the high when it's high, but have bad fights.
No. Definitely not. Because if the lows are that low, then no, you got to get out of there. That's toxic. That's in the toxic level. And old me used to chase the shit out of that. What you just described was the relationship I used to want, dude. I was like, oh, you toxic? What's up?
That's why we're friends. Yeah,
I loved it because you're right. The highs are so incredibly high because it's a wild card. And you're like, oh my God, this high is amazing. But then the lows, you're like, oh my, this is the worst thing. Why am I in a relationship? This is terrible.
Right.
You know? I used to be very into that. But toxicity is a no from, like, as soon as I see toxic traits, I don't want the drama. I'm just out, you know? Took a while to get there, but we're there now. Anyway, what you described, though, if you have to have more of one than the other, and here's my fear, is if you have more of the feelings and the compatibility is meh, right? So you fight sometimes. It's not as low as we're describing, but you fight sometimes, but your highs are really good and you're not really that compatible, so you're butting heads a lot, but your feelings are so insane. I think I would prefer that because on the compatibility side, if someone's so compatible and you never fight, but like,
it might get boring.
It's meh. And what if you meet someone else that lights that fire? And it's easy to say no to someone who's compatible. It's easier to say no to that than it is to say no to that spark, to that chemistry, to that fire. For me, anyway.
It's easier to say no to someone who's compatible with you than it is to the fire. Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? Like if you're in a relationship and you meet someone that's probably really compatible with you and you have so much in common, it's easy to be like, I'm in a relationship. But it's harder when someone brings out a fire in you and you're like, I don't know what's going on. Like, who is this person? You know? And I'm scared of that. So that's why I don't like to get into relationships unless the feelings are there like that.
Remember how I mentioned that I met this last breakup guy while I was dating my ex-boyfriend?
Yes.
I think there was a bit of that fire when we first met, but I luckily was able to be like, I have a boyfriend.
Right. And you can shut that down.
We didn't date for 6 months later, but like,
I think that fire festers.
Yeah.
It's always an ember at first, you know, but if you feed into it, then you're like, oh my God.
We fed into it and then it blew up. So,
hey, dude.
Also, the last thing that we should do, because we said we'd come back to it, we didn't talk about getting closure. And
good way to close the episode.
What?
That's a good way to close the episode too.
Oh my God, you're right.
Dude.
We were laughing because John knows that I recently-ish, in the last month or so, seeked. Is seeked a word?
Sought?
I sought. Ooh.
I don't know if that's right either.
Unclear. I looked for. I tried to find.
Past tense looked.
I tried to find closure. And that meant a phone call. And I just had questions that I hadn't had answered. And I felt like, you know what? I was feeling bold. And I think I did get some of it.
Okay.
Like, I do think to an extent questions of mine were answered, or it was simply the way that he answered them and the way that our conversation went that made me feel like, you know what, that's as much as I'm going to get and I have to move on with that. So I don't know if the closure came from me or from him, but either way, I think you have to be careful with those conversations because sometimes they do nothing.
I think most times they do nothing. And I think a lot of the closure that you got was closure that you gave yourself.
Probably.
I think that when you're having those conversations with someone, they're not going to be completely honest with you because at some degree, you don't want to hurt someone's feelings and you're not going to get the true honesty from them. They're probably going to sugarcoat it.
I challenge you there, though, because I'm pretty certain that he and I were both incredibly, incredibly honest with each other.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that I got the answers I was looking for, maybe.
Okay.
And I think that's what you have to be careful of, is if you're going into it thinking, oh, I'm going to ask, this is not my situation, but like, oh, I'm going to ask him about that one trip to Vegas that he went on. And I still have questions about that. And I think something happened. He's probably not going to tell you.
And even if so, I feel like, so what?
It kind of actually all goes back to your point.
Right. The blinders. And I think that there was a time in my most recent relationship where I wanted closure. Like some things had happened and I was like, I need answers to this. And I had to shut myself off. And I never got them. I just said, no, I need to live my life. Like I need to focus on what's in front of me and focus on making myself better and getting myself over it on my own timeline without looking to the side. And I think that was
you have closure now?
Yes, because I gave myself the closure and I'm comfortable not knowing the answers to the things that I wanted to know. And I think that's the thing is if you're chasing closure, there's a very high possibility you're not going to get it. In fact, I'm going to say 99% of times you're not going to get that closure and it's just going to make you feel worse because now you're in front of the person you have feelings for and you want something to make you feel better and you're not going to get it. And it's going to suck. And then you're reopening wounds and it's just setting your timeline of getting over it back another 2 weeks, you know? If you thought about this closure for 2 weeks and then you have a conversation, you're 2 weeks behind now.
Yeah. I think it's like my situation is different because it was long distance. So we haven't been we didn't break up face to face, which by the way, crying on FaceTime is not fun. Not fun. So don't recommend it.
Yeah, because then you can see yourself and you're like, oh, I'm disgusting.
And you're like, I've been sobbing and I can't breathe. And yeah, it's not fun.
Nice.
But in person, I actually agree with you more. The in-person stuff, like you're just going to feel bad again.
I even think over the phone.
Oh, over the phone is still not great.
FaceTime, I'm going to challenge you. I agree.
No. This was not a FaceTime.
Oh.
We haven't FaceTimed since we broke up 2 months ago.
Oh, so when was this?
And we have spoken a couple times, but just on the phone.
Oh, so it was a phone call. It was a phone call.
Which is like really sad and cold. Like when you used to FaceTime with someone every day, it's like so cold to pick up the phone. It's just so awful. I'm not going to go into that. It is, man. But yeah, I just think you have to be really careful with closure. And I do mostly agree with you. I think I put myself in a position where I could have been much more hurt.
Yes.
And luckily this time that didn't happen.
Luckily, I would advise people to not take that advice and learn to move on without closure.
But this is the exception and not the rule.
Agreed.
Once again.
But also, when taking breakup advice, you just don't listen to anyone.
Me
and
or
you're going to do
everyone?
what you're going to do, you know? Huh?
Like me or everyone in the world?
And people in general.
Totally. You know? Like, was there anything anyone could have said during your last breakup that would have actually stopped you from doing things the way you did? Yeah.
No. My sister gave me great advice. I listened to 20% of it.
Yeah. I will say just what we've talked about, like focusing on yourself, do that as much as possible.
And it gets better. And that just means that there's someone else out there for you that will complete
John,
you.
are you sure? Because I'm starting to worry about myself, not you.
Nope.
Did you just say no?
Yep. But I would like to believe that there is, and I'm going to choose to live my life as if there is. Because I would rather live my life as if there is than think that there's not and have to look at the options that I've already known and try and settle, you know?
Oh, true.
And maybe someone from the past becomes that. You know, that's very possible as well. But I'd like to believe that I will have the best in front of me.
Do you have any exes in this moment that you would redate right now? Start over right now?
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of a fun little pot stir.
And there's your tease right there.
And that's how we're going to end this.
It sure is.
Dude, I still have a shout it and shut it, but we're going to do it next week. We're just going to do it. It will live for a while, so we're going to do it.
Okay, week. Are you going to be as passionately upset about it as you are in this moment?
I'm going to be passionately upset about this for months.
Okay.
So we're good.
Okay.
So there's your tease for next episode, even though we teased that in last episode.
So much to discuss.
Any closing thoughts, John?
Yeah, do you think we're ever going to have a podcast under an hour again?
No, I
Yeah,
don't.
me neither.
So go find us on Instagram at Almost On Air, Twitter at Almost On Air. Everything else is at our link in our bio in our Instagram, so you can find all
What
the ish.
is up? You nailed it.
Thank you. We'll talk to you guys next week.
Bye.
Fuck.